leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has been meeting. And part of their deliberation is this zoning and rotational arrangement as the party prepares for presidential primary. And tonight, with recent figures and indicators of the economy, failure of the power grid and rise in prices of energy commodities, we analyze the issues and implications for Nigerians. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. So much to talk about. If you miss any part of the program, it might be some painful part because, it might be painful to miss any part because it's going to be crucial from the very first minute to the last minute. So stay with me, everyone. I promise it's going to be an interesting package for tonight. Let's begin by telling you that the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, today visited the National Assembly and has been meeting with the caucus members of the All Progressives Congress in the National Assembly. He also told them about his intention to run for president. He has also informed them that he has told President Muhammadu Buhari that he wants to succeed him after his time in office. Take a listen to Bola Tinubu.
Why am I here? I came for your counsel, partnership, and support. Nigeria has come to that stage where we need a change of button. Mr. President is about to serve his second term in full. The election is coming up in February. We have various programs that I don't have to restate here. Nomination process, primary process, and all of that. I can't do it by myself, and I can't do it by sitting at home, expecting that many friends, personal friends that I have here will do it for me. I believe jointly we can do it. You can back me successfully for the nomination of my lifetime ambition to become the president. I mentioned to Mr. President my ambition, and I told him my ambition is not blind to the extent that I will step on his toes. I just want to step into his shoe and not on his toes.
You heard Bola Tinubu there about his ambition to become Nigeria's president. Let's also tell you part of the issues that we shall be discussing tonight is also the fact that the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, has been explaining the reasons behind the recent power failure outages that we've been experiencing in the country, and due to grid collapses. The minister has been explaining this. He told journalists after the FEC meeting, the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Take a listen to his explanations.
The more reason we are facing this situation is more as a result of the shortage of gas, and some of the generators have to go to maintenance. And it is a scheduled maintenance, and it's supposed to be a scheduled outage. But we have not envisaged that we are going to have the issues around vandalization of pipelines, which the NNPC has addressed that. And you can see evidently everywhere aviation fuel, queue in the filling stations, and it's a combination of many factors, and that compounded the situation we're having on the grid. The generators are not supplying because of lack of gas. We have capacity of 8,000 megawatts. When I was explaining the time I came here, we have the one on the grid, we have the embedded, and we have the captive. So if you combine all of them, we have that. So what is happening now is as a result of all these problems that we are encountering, and we are on top of it. Very soon we will come out of it.
All right, then, you heard the explanations. Hopefully things are going to be resolved as fast as possible. But let's allow you to listen to some other stories that you'll be interested in on our political roundup.
Just hours after the All Progressives Congress, APC began the sale of forms, aspirants have besieged the party's secretariat to pick up their forms as national chairmanship aspirants sent in their campaign coordinators to pay the mandatory 20 million naira. Some of them lay out their plans to move the party forward, especially by ensuring that the APC remains in power beyond 2023. The Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has warned members and leaders of the All Progressives Congress in the state against actions capable of destroying the party. He said the unity and strength of the party should be placed high and above personal interest. He was speaking during the inauguration ceremony of the executive committee members of the All Progressives Congress in the North Central States.
And defend the constitution of All Progressives Congress.
With the countdown now in hours for Anambra State Governor Willie Obiano to hand over power to his successor, members of the State House of Assembly have been commending him for his achievement during his 8 years as governor. The lawmakers, during a valedictory session organized for him, commended Governor Obiano for his role in improving security, his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as infrastructure development. Some youth in Rivers State have asked the chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in the state, Senator Magnus Abe, to join the governorship race ahead of the 2023 elections. The youth gave the advice during an interactive event with a former lawmaker in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Senator Abe had engaged the youth on the importance of self-development and their role in nation building. A political analyst and former spokesperson for Atiku Abubakar for President Segun Showunmi has declared his intention to contest for the governorship seat in Ogun State come 2023 under the People's Democratic Party. While addressing his supporters in Abeokuta, the state capital, he promised them good governance hinged on responsibility and purpose-driven administration.
So much, everyone. Let's get to it tonight. If you are in Abuja, you perhaps will have seen a lot of the People's Democratic Party leaders converge on the city. Now, the caucuses have been meeting, and we understand now that the NEC meeting and the BOT meeting is also, I don't know which one is on the way right now, but the leaders of the party are effectively having their consultations ahead of the party primaries, which we understand will happen in a couple of weeks. There have been some deliberations on issues of rotation and power shift and all of that. Let me allow you to take a listen to one of, we'll get to listen to some of the leaders in a short while. But one thing that is very important to note is the fact that the PDP might be having some kind of headache. And it's going to be about the issue of zoning and rotation. Where should the presidential candidate of the party come from in 2023? Let's get to it and put some insight into the matter. I'm being joined tonight by two members of the PDP, Austin Okai and Ilemono Onoja. Ilemono is a lawyer also. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let me give some analysts have predicted that it will probably be the biggest nightmare that your party has seen in over 20 years, trying to decide where the candidate of the party should come from in terms of zoning and rotation. Do you think that it's going to be difficult?
Well, I foresee some difficulty, I also think that it should be easy. As a political party, that by the time we get to the 2023 elections next year, you'd have been out of power, out of office for 8 years at the center. by the time the primaries are conducted, according to the INEC timetable, in May or thereabouts, between April and June, you'd have been out of power for roughly about 7 years. You should be paying heed to what your best foot is. Doesn't matter where that foot comes from.
Really?
Really, right now, out of power, what you should be considering, to my mind, is who is our best candidate, who can not only help us win an election, but who has shown the capacity, content, and character required to adequately govern this country and pull us back from the brink where we currently are. Those are what the primary considerations should be.
Because I imagine that in some of the considerations that always come up is, one, the issue of zoning. That it comes paramount. All of the political parties are discussing it.
All political parties are
zoning and rotation, but which is at the heart of what, if you hear what Atiku Abubakar said yesterday, for example, he said the leaders of the party should ignore where the candidate come from, that they should give him another chance. While I hear the message, but what disturbs many young members of the party like myself, many younger members of the party like myself, and maybe I don't know if it disturbs Austin, is we haven't heard many people preach a message of unity with respect to how to reunite the party and focus on how to reunite the country. We run a very divided country at the moment. No thanks to the failures of the Buhari administration. What I think this should be about, and it's a bit disappointing that that's not the primary focus of our conversation. What I think that this should be about is who can lead this country adequately? Who has capacity, content, character? Whose plans or set of plans bode well for the party and for the country? I think that's what the fundamental focus should be. It's a little disappointing that we're having this same age-old conversation about, not that we're having the conversation, and don't get me wrong, I don't think that zoning should be completely taken off the table. What I reckon is that what should be at the forefront of your conversation, capacity, content, character, ability. Focus on that. Nigeria faces its most difficult existential crisis since the Civil War. We've got a war on terror in the northeast. You've got a war on terror in the northwest. You've got an armed militia invading farms and villages in the north central. You've got two agitations for separation and self-actualization, one in the southeast, one in the southwest, and then you have record unemployment, inflation at crazy levels, food inflation at crazy levels, youth unemployment. I'm sorry, in the face of all that Nigeria is currently facing, I reckon that we should be talking about what we should be talking about should be fundamentally different. Austin, do you agree?
To some extent, definitely I agree with him. I agree with him completely. And I think, as I used to say, we must be very careful at this time, I mean the PDP leaderships, on these issues of journey. We should think that whoever emerges automatically, because APC is having problem today, will win the comes 2023. We must avoid that mistake. Secondly, just as Lemonade just said, we are hungry for victory comes 2023. And our target should be, how do we win the coming 2023 presidential election? Any other calculation outside that, we are on our way to do ourselves a very disservices. Thirdly, what of the country that is facing separation? There are so many secessionist agitation across southeast, southwest, and other parts of the country. Who have the capacity to unite the nation? Nigeria as a federated unit must not be seen disintegrated. And PDP for 60 years has managed to keep the country together. And now that after leaving power for some years, we are aware in the hands of APC, the Southeast want to go, the Southwest want to go. The onus of uniting
Apologies, the country. I would like to cut you just a moment. Breaking news coming right here on Channels Television. We can tell you authoritatively that President Muhammadu Buhari has met with Governor Buni in London today. Earlier today, both of them had a meeting where the president had given instructions, and some of these instructions are as follows: that Governor Memala Buni should immediately take out over the affairs of the APC Caretaker Committee. Breaking news coming right here. Governor Memala Buni has met with President Muhammadu Buhari in London, and the president has since given an instruction that he should take over the aim of affairs of the people APC Caretaker Committee. The president also instructed that the Caretaker Committee should return, the leadership that is, should return to status quo ante. And also instructed Governor Buni to continue with the preparations of the convention and should happen on the 26th of March 2022. Breaking news right here, we're following for you that President Muhammadu Buhari has met with Governor Memala Buni in London. The meeting has come out that the governor should go ahead with the plans to conduct the APC convention slated for the 26th of March. More details we'll be bringing to you right here on the program. Images are also emerging of both of them appearing in London together, and we're also hearing and seeing letters emerging that have been written from the president to the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. So much is coming. We get some reactions for you right here on the program. Stay with me, everyone. I told you so much to talk about. Let's continue with the PDP matter. We'll come back to the meeting of President Buhari and Memala Buni in a short while. Let me allow you to land on that thought. So if your party, what would be too dangerous for your party to do right now? If it's zones to the north or zone to the south, what would be the most dangerous one?
It's not the issue. I don't think we should even revisit the issue of zoning. If we must be sincere to ourselves.
Your party should cancel it.
What happened in last election, 2019 general election? Did we win? And because we failed that, we should have turned the zoning arrangement of the party? I'm very much aware that the current president of APC is from the north. But that is APC arrangement. Should we jettison PDP arrangement because the APC has done 8 years from the north? And just as I said earlier before, the most important thing for us at this time is to unite this country and rescue the nation from what we are facing currently. And in doing that, we must be very careful. Not that whoever emerge under the other PDP will automatically win come 2023. That will be a costly mistake on our own side. That would be a costly mistake on our own side.
Would that not be hypocritical of your party, which in the first place was the one who embodied the concept of zoning? I mean, it's in a convention standard in your party.
We haven't uttered the zoning.
But you are saying that your party should not even look at it right
because
now.
It's already existing. The last presidential candidate who was not declared a winner of the election, where is he coming from?
You are the presidential candidate from the north.
Yes.
Atiku Abubakar the last time.
Is it the president?
Do you think that the party should maintain that?
Is it the current president? He's from the north.
I would.
It's from the north. The north central is there. The northeast is there. This two zone has never tested presidency. Likewise to the southeast. The south has tested. The southwest has tested under the same People's Democratic Party. Are we nullifying that pre-existing history of the political practices or the norms of the party? What are we saying about?
Let me allow you.
I would think that if we're going to be circumspect and we're going to subject this to some sort of analytical scrutiny, right? We have to now narrow this thing down. In the history of our political party, two zones have never produced presidential candidates. Two zones. The southeast and the north central.
The northeast, I'm not sure northeast has produced one.
It has produced the presidential candidate. Atiku Abubakar is from the northeast.
But not produced the president.
Northeast, I'm going somewhere. One zone has never produced a vice presidential candidate or a presidential candidate on the platform of our party, the north central. Remember that the essence of the zoning principle from the beginning was to sort of even out structural imbalances that we had in our social politics in 1999. So even if we're sticking to that and we're shouting justice and equity, you cannot remove the North Central from that conversation. You cannot simply remove the North Central because the North Central, you cannot remove the North Central or the Southeast. But then again, you have to give primary consideration to the North Central. that it has never produced a vice presidential candidate, it has never produced a presidential candidate on the platform of the party. But we don't want to have that conversation. I'd rather not. I'd rather not have that conversation because it's an old conversation. It's a conversation that focuses on who we are, where we are from, what God we worship, what language we speak, rather than what the core fundamentals are. Core fundamentals at this time being, how do we put our young people to work? How do we protect our old and elderly? How do we give them health care? How do we educate our children? How do we make our jobs and how do we make our industries and our companies productive again? How do we make our farms productive? How do we safeguard our country? These are what the core and most fundamental issues are. This is what they should be. Right. Now, I'm saying that...
Just give me a moment, because we need to go back to our breaking news that we are following right here on the program, that President Muhammadu Buhari has met with Governor Mayor Buni earlier today in London. Pictures have also emerged of both of them having a meeting. And what's coming from the presidency is the president has given an instruction on the way to go for the party. The president has instructed that Governor Mayor Buni should immediately take over the arm of affairs of the caretaker committee, and he should immediately execute all the plans to conduct the March 26th convention of the people of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Let's get some insight into what this means and the implication for the APC. I'm being joined from France by a lawyer and a member of the APC, Daniel Bwala. Thank you so much, Mr. Bwala, for joining us. Give us an insight on what this means for your party. Breaking news coming in says that the president has met with Governor Buni. This is an opposite of the instruction that we understand that the president has given before now, that Governor Bello should take over. What do you think is happening, really?
Having me. I do not even think from the beginning that the president had asked that Governor Mayor Buni be removed, because I have always known the president as someone who keeps to the rule of law and he obeys the due process of law. And the president must have known that the removal of a national chairman is statutorily provided for. Is provided.
So, can you controvert? Hello? Can you hear me? It seems we're having some problems with the connection there. We can also see that there's a letter that has been transmitted, now leaked, and we can now see that there's a letter written from the president to the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. The details of that we might be able to touch on the program right here. But the fulcrum of the story and the news reporting right now is that there seems to be a change of direction in the way and manner President Buhari wanted things to go, from asking Governor Bello to be the acting chairman of the caretaker committee. Now has since changed his mind and now instructed Governor Buni to be in charge. So details of how the president perceived the situation in the party is captured in that letter that you can see right there on your screen. And a photo of the president and Governor Buni is emerged that he took in London after their meeting. All right, if we're able to get back Daniel Bwala, we will be asking him more questions as he understands some of the internal workings of his party. But let's come back and talk about their sister party, the opposition, the People's Democratic Party.
Opposition, not...
Yeah, you're opposition, but your sister party, no. In every sense of it, because look, most of you were in APC before, and never. Before you switched.
Never.
Never.
And most people in APC have been in PDP before now. So the bottom line is,
go ahead.
It does look like politicians change the goalposts at every point in time when it doesn't favor. Now, what we wonder that why are PDP members talking like this? You were the one who set the standard. It's as if you said, look, a game of football will be 90 minutes. And when it was not going your way, you said it's going to be 120 minutes. That is exactly what it looks like from what both of you are talking about tonight.
Can I?
Please go ahead.
Let's use your analogy of football. Game of football, 90 minutes,
yeah.
Right? One party has to win. You don't win in a competition. Finals, you don't win. automatically the rules of the game change for you and extend it. It's not you that changes the rules of the game. The rules of the game change. Let me tell you something. It's called a power sharing arrangement. You share power when you have power. You don't have it. What are you sharing? The primary focus of an opposition party should be, how do we win elections? Which candidates best for us embody the ability or the possibility of winning an election? That's the conversation you should be having.
That is it.
From a political party point of view, from a governance point of view, you should now be interrogating which of these candidates displays competence, character, a track record of proven success, right? So that we can present these candidates to the Nigerian people. Where you should be now, I have a bias for a particular candidate, and my biases are very clear, and my biases are born out of a track record. Over the last year or 2 years, we've had a badly fragmented party. What you should be talking about is, how do we pull our party together? How do we pull the constituent parts of our party back together so we form one whole cohesive functional unit? Then we can go into an election. Because let me tell you what, you choose a candidate from the north, you choose a candidate from the south. If you do not go into the elections with a cohesive political unit, you lose the election.
All right, so let me quickly get back to our breaking news. I understand that Daniel is back with us. So give us an insight on, you said that you don't think that the president, in fact, said he's in the ab initio. But look, we heard from a governor who said, this is what happened. And we saw being acted out that the governor that it was said to take over as acting chairman took over effectively. If the president hadn't said that, would that have happened?
They could not have said that Buni should be sacked. The president's word could have been that in the absence of Buni, get somebody to run the affairs of the party, depending on when Governor Buni will be back. And individuals who wanted Buni in the first place made the conclusion that the president asked that Buni be sacked. The president came to become president through a due process of law. And the constitution of APC is what governs the activities of the APC. The provision of the constitution of APC regarding the removal or sack of a national officer is quite clear and unambiguous. And so the president could not have said that. And this again brings to fore the issue of the president said, which in my view, the president will have to look into it, because the stock in trade of politicians as elections come close by is to quote the president. And I'm sure, because shortly after it was said that the president sacked the national chairman, you heard that the president denied ever sacking the national chairman. So the idea of indirect word, you see, there is hearsay. Hearsay is not admissible in law because it is not a word that the national chairman heard directly from the president. In any case, that is behind us. The most important thing now is that the president has heeded to the voice of wisdom and has saved the party for what would have been a cataclysmic effect had the party proceeded without Maimala Buni as the national chairman. Because if he was removed, the procedure
Mr. Bwala, what is the implication of this directive? Because in a letter now that has emerged, it's shown that the president copied the SGF, copied the director of DSS, copied the Inspector General of Police, copied the chairman. The letter was actually written to the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. It means that every strata of the party and security agencies in the country are now copied in all of this. So those who are against Buni, or whatever has happened in the party, what is the implication of this new twist for the APC?
The implication is that any officer of the government of the federation that dares to violate the order of the president risks the chance of his job, and in fact might face the wrath of law, because at a critical time like that, any attempt to unseat Buni or to create chaos is a threat to national security. Regarding the Governors Forum and some of the officers of our party, at least all the warring factions would have known that the position of the national leader is that Governor Maimala Buni, who has been appointed by the next, should pilot the affairs of the party. And I like this approach because now the president has made it clear and unequivocal. Nobody can come behind him, beside him, underneath him to say the president said or the president did not say, because there is a document that is a prima facie proof that the president's desire and president's order is that the party be run in accordance with the law.
Daniel, thank you so much for talking to us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you speak with us, even on a short notice, because of the breaking news that we are following. Thank you so much. I'll allow you to go back to your activities. Thank you so much indeed for your time. The breaking news is that President Muhammadu Buhari has met with Governor Mala Buni and has asked him to return as the caretaker chairman of the APC. The picture of President Buhari and Mala Buni has emerged, and a letter also emerged that the president instructing specifically on how he wants things to go. Since also there is a statement coming from the president's office to this to the effect of all of this. So let's conclude our conversation. Let's wrap up in another 60 seconds so that we can go on break and turn into economic matters. Austin, I'll allow you to wrap up for us. For your party, these meetings that we're having today, some people are saying there might be some fisticuffs in that meeting today because there are a lot of divisions already. What do you think will happen after today's meeting?
Politics is a game of interest. It's not a regimented environment.
Exactly.
Everybody comes there with their own interest, and such argument is expected. But the most important, and the one thing unique about PDP is that we always come together.
We come back together.
We don't need any president to intervene like APC. We don't need any foreign letter from London to rescue the party. We have the internal mechanism of what to do, how to do, and when to act.
Do it. I need to appreciate both of you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. We're monitoring for you the PDP meeting. There's been strategies of meeting today alone. So much meeting, so many things to unpack for you. But stay with me, everyone. If you're not able to buy petrol, there is a reason for it. If you don't have electricity in your house, the minister is explaining. The inflation figure has gone from 15.60 to 15.70 just from January to February. Incremental changes in a lot of things. We'll break this down for you. What does the economy under the Buhari administration, what does this mean for Nigeria? The changes that we have seen, so much to talk about. If you are interested in those things and the problem and solution, stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. The National Bureau of Statistics has released some figures about the Nigerian economy. The major one that caught a lot of people's interest is the inflation figure. Things got bad in the past few months, and perhaps the projections are looking good in the past few months until the January and February figure came out to clearly show that things may not be going well. The inflation figure that has emerged now shows that the inflation from January has come from 15.60% to 15.70%. It does mean a lot of things. That prices of things, the price of commodities in the market. One of the reasons, of course, is the issue of fuel, which of course implication is on food prices, transportation, and a host of other things. Our friend here at FDI has helped with some of these figures then and now. From 2020 and 2022, everything is in the red, and how prices have shot up. So let's get insight into this. I'm being joined now by an economist, Mr. Muda Yusuf, who joins us from our Lagos studio. And here in our Abuja studio is Alhaji Yabaji Sani. He's the chairman of IPAC and the national chairman of the ADP. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Sure.
Let me begin with Mr. Yusuf tonight. Did you see this coming? There are projections and predictions about the inflation figures, which naturally were said things will get better. But from January and February, it was a dramatic change in things. What really went wrong?
Yeah, thank you, Sheung. Well, this did not come as a surprise, because if you look at the scenario of inflation over the last 1 year, the situation has been really very, very bad. And if there is any major worry for the citizens and for businesses at this time, I think it's about the high cost of goods and services because of the very profound implications that these things are having, both for the welfare of the people and, of course, the prosperity of businesses. So it has really been bad. Now, the inflation figure, we had 15.70, headline inflation. Core inflation was around 13.7. The food inflation was slightly over 17%. But if you look at the reality of prices on the ground, mind you, these are year-on-year figures. If you look at the reality of the prices on the ground, and going by even the data that you just displayed on the screen, if you look at the basket of goods that the average Nigerian is consuming, or the basket of products that even businesses have been using, over the last 1 year, you'll be talking about an inflation rate of between 30 to 100%. It's as bad as that. I mean, talk to anybody, talk to any citizen, whether market women or any investor. So it's really very bad. And it doesn't seem to be abating. So that is where we are. Of course, there are issues, stories about the energy prices. There are issues around our foreign exchange, the currency depreciation. There are issues around the transportation cost. There are issues around the insecurity affecting the agricultural production. So these are some of the key issues of concern. But really, I think we need to declare an emergency as far as the cost of goods and services are concerned. Inflation rate of 15.7% is understating the matter when we look at the severity of the impact of the high cost of goods and services over the last 1 year, I would say.
If you look, let's look at the pictures again. Some of these indicators, and of a major concern is that of the power and the national grid. If you look at it, in 2020 we calculated about 5,340 megawatts, but as of now it's 2,000 megawatts. Terrible. I mean, the grid has collapsed several times. If you look at the arrow pointing 63% in the change, just in less than 2 years. If you look at diesel, which is a major issue also, 190 naira to 650 naira. In fact, it's even more than that. In some places, about 700 to 800 naira. Some people say they buy it. It's over 242%. Petrol, 145 and 165, 14%. Bag of flour, and one of the major food consumptions on the table of many Nigerians, 8,500 naira. In less than 2 years, it's gone to 22,500. 181% change in that is gone terribly bad. Oil price for the $3 and $103. I mean, this should be good news in any case, because that is our major earnings for the country. But Mr. Muda, give us a sense of the first 2 or 3 items that I mentioned here: the issue of power, the issue of diesel, and petrol. If these continue, what are your biggest fears?
Yes, the challenges around energy prices, of course, is one of the major drivers of inflation. Now, the cost of diesel, at least by recent accounts, has gone as high as even 700 naira per liter. So this will further put a lot of pressure on prices generally. First, we have the factories and businesses that rely on diesel generators because of the power situation. This is going to increase their cost of production. It's going to increase the operating cost. And of course, it's not in all cases that this cost can even be passed on to consumers. So both on the consumer side and on the investor side, everybody is taking a hit. You know, and of course, there is also the issue of transportation. Many of the trucks that move goods around the country, whether they are moving raw materials, they are moving food products, all these buses and all of them, all of them are running on diesel. So if you have this kind of almost 200 or 300% jump in the cost of the basic fuel that they use. You can imagine the implication for transportation costs. And we have known that over the years, the cost of transportation is a major driver of food inflation. So this, again, will affect the cost of food. Invariably will affect the poverty situation. It will erode purchasing power. Then, of course, you know the situation with the aviation fuel. This is also affecting aviation fuel. Only recently we were told that the 1 hour flights will be minimum of 50,000 naira. Now that we have seen this kind of sharp increase in energy prices, what is going to happen? And you heard the screaming of the airline operators about their capacity to continue to sustain their businesses. So all of these are very disturbing situation. And concerning petrol,
so
although
before I come back to back to Abuja studio here, I'd like to ask you a quick question, because that will be bothering a lot of the minds of people. What has gone wrong in the last 2 years? What did the government do wrong that has caused this dramatic change in the economic indicators?
Well, a number of factors. Some of the factors are external. Some of the factors are also domestic. The external factor, at least the most recent, is the Ukraine-Russian crisis, which, of course, has affected energy prices globally. And unfortunately, because we are not refining, and that is where the domestic angle of the problem is, we are dependent 100% on the importation of petroleum products. So as these prices go up, and because this diesel, aviation fuel, kerosene, gas, they are all in the deregulated space. So as crude oil prices increase, the prices of all of these items are increasing. So we are paying a very big price for the mismanagement of our domestic oil and gas sector, for the failure to reform the sector, for the failure to allow investment to flow into the sector over the years. That is the price we are paying for now. So that is the situation. Then domestically again, we have the challenge of Forex. Because even for the individual companies that normally import some of these products, whether diesel or aviation fuel, access to foreign exchange is a big issue. Many of them are not able to access foreign exchange, to the level that they need to import significantly. Many of them are falling back on the parallel markets to source foreign exchange at 560, 570. So again, that will reflect on the price of the products. So the foreign exchange situation is also contributing to this problem. So it's a question of the way we have managed our oil and gas sector that led to the collapse of all the refineries.
All right.
That has obstructed investment in the sector, that has led us to be a major importer of refined petroleum products. That is the tragedy that we face at the moment. So these are the principal
let me come
factors.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Let me come to Abuja studio and let's hear from energy and a crude oil expert, someone who has worked with the NNPC for years. Is also the national chairman of IPAC, Alhaji Abaji Sani. Give us a sense of what is happening. I mean, the queues, diesel, price of diesel, and all of that is explaining in part. But the question is, how do we get out of from this problem?
Well, Shehu, there are a lot of problems, like you said. There are structural problems, there are human problems, there are management problems that have bedeviled the development of the oil and gas sector. And lack of accountability, I think, is at the bottom of everything we're talking about. Because look, for instance, let's take, for instance, what is happening today. Why are we where we are today? Why do we have this crisis in the supply of fuel in the country? It's because somebody somewhere deliberately, swindled the country by importing foul fuel into the country, and nobody, to my knowledge, has been punished. It is not as if we don't know who these people are, because we know.
Has the government come out with the names of these people?
The only entity that imports fuel into this country today is NNPC. Private sector is not allowed to import.
So you think NNPC is behind all of this?
Certainly they are. Because, and the only agency also that is responsible for checking the specs, that is the quality of the fuel that we are bringing to the country, is government agencies. You have the midstream and downstream regulatory agency. What were they doing? Government also has employed people that are supposed to be inspectors. You know, when this cargo comes into the country, they're supposed to take a sample of the cargo, take it to laboratory, and analyze it, ensure that it meets the specs that is suitable for consumption before you are allowed to be discharged. So what happened? Why did all these things fail? And why is somebody in a sane country, somebody would have resigned by now.
Or somebody be sacked and prosecuted.
Or somebody would have been sacked, you know, for probity, for accountability. But here you are, your people, you know, are coming to television, you know, praising themselves. And it's such an embarrassing situation we have in this country. That is where we are today. When you look at, I'm talking about structural problem in the oil and gas sector, like the gentleman from Lagos has said, is because we fail to manage this God-given, you know, asset that would have taken this country miles, you know, away from where we are today in terms of, you know, our development.
But people say that sometimes when there are problems, it benefits some people. The Ukraine-Russia problem should have been a benefit for Nigeria.
Certainly.
In the real sense, because
it's supposed
now,
to be.
the problem of shortage might be because we don't have cargo coming into the country bringing those fuel.
Exactly.
But if we were producing locally, we would have gained from the price of crude that got
But nobody has been held accountable for all these things happening. And this is the point I'm making. Look at even the quota given to us by OPEC of 1.8 million barrels per day. We can't even meet that quota. And look at what happened. Just recently, in the papers, the Auditor General said about 107 million barrels of crude oil. It's missing, you know. Nobody is held accountable for that. I'm aware that this is something that is happening, you know. So if you want to know why are we where we are today, I think squarely it's at the doorstep of the government, because this is not a sector that is anyhow.
All right.
It can be managed.
Our friends at Financial Derivatives did a bit of research for us. When we're going to discuss this matter, which should give Nigerians some perspective. I like those indicators, the 10 leading indicators to be put on screen, and I like your reaction to it. If you look at it, even the price of sardine, the fish that is canned, has gone from 200 naira to 600 naira. That's a 400 naira difference just in 2 years. Cooking gas, a major problem, 3,500 to 8,000 naira. Rice, 25,000 naira to 30,000 naira. Fertilizers for farmers, 5,000 naira to 16,000. When we wonder what's happening, because we have production of fertilizer locally. So what is going on? We have production of rice locally. Why has that incremental change happened? Inflation, 13.20% from 2020 to 2022 to 15.70%, 2.5% difference just in 2 years. Naira, the parallel market, it now goes for 582 naira as we speak, compared to 365 naira in the past 2 years. So if you look at it again, the power sector, the diesel, the price of petrol, the price of the bag of flour, the price of oil price, everything is not in favor of Nigeria and Nigerians as we speak. Can you talk to those figures, please?
Well, the figures are the way they are. In fact, care is not taken, they will only go, worse. Why do I say worse? Because the government is supposed to take care of all these things. Unfortunately, the oil and gas sector is in the hands of the government. And then this government, to me, is not yet really has not summoned the capacity, if there's any at all, to deal with these problems. And that's why these problems are going from bad to worse. So the point is that, whatever happens in the energy sector has multiplier effects, on all other sectors of the economy, because of the backward and forward linkages that other sectors have with oil and gas sector. That's why when the price of petrol goes up, you find that transportation will go up, the diesel price goes up and things like that. But like I'm saying, there are fundamental issues which we are not addressing. This is why we are having these problems. If government has taken time to really deal with the corruption that is in the oil and gas sector, because energy sector in all ramifications, whatever how you look at it, everywhere in the world, is what develops, what propels development of the
crisis
country.
in Russia, for example. Russia supplies about 40% of energy to other parts of Europe and the world. But now it's a major, and the world needs to rationalize it.
Exactly, and that's why Biden could not, introduce. The sanctions they wanted to introduce because they see that on the other hand, there will be the war source.
Just for a moment, Alaji, let me go back to Lagos and let's look at solution. I'll come back to you to ask the same question, Mr. Yusuf. If you were the president with your economic knowledge, how do you turn the tide or the end of the figures that are moving in a bad trend? What would you do immediately to stop this bad trend?
Well, a combination of propositions. First, the foreign exchange policy needs to change. Because in all of this, and this is not just only about the oil and gas, the fact that we have the kind of structure of foreign exchange market that we have today is a major factor in all of this problem. Of course, I've mentioned the external factors around energy, the disruption in supply, and all of that. But the foreign exchange policy has a systemic effect on practically all sectors of the economy. And to the extent that we need foreign exchange to be able to solve some of these things. If the foreign exchange situation is not right, and just as I said, those who need to import are having challenges accessing the market. There's a lot of rationing going on in the official window or the foreign exchange market. So the first thing to do, and that is also reflected in the National Development Plan, under the macroeconomic strategy, is a top priority, is to have a flexible exchange rate regime so that the foreign exchange market can be a lot more liberalized, there could be a lot more stability and transparency, and access and liquidity will improve. That is one. Secondly, we need to decouple the energy sector from the bureaucracy and the politicians. What we have had over the last 2-3 decades is that this very critical sector is being driven by bureaucrats and politicians. That is why we are where we are. And each attempt that was made to reform the sector, to decouple the bureaucrats from the system, has been met with a lot of resistance, both from some vested interests and also from labor.
Mr. Yusuf, it's unfortunate. Let me ask Mr. Yabagisani the same question. What do you think is the solution is?
Well, the solution is both macro and micro. At the macro level, we must, like he says, address the issues of the foreign exchange because it matters a lot, and that is why even the import, because we import everything that we consume, including fuel that we're talking about, where there's a lot of scam, and you go to the foreign exchange, management by the CBN that to me, I don't know, this is not the forum to talk about that, but I think the CBN should be more engaged in managing our monetary policies and issue of pricing, but they are not doing that in the manner that is supposed to be done. So issue is that of micro aspect, the macro aspect. Micro aspect is that NMPC, although it's defunct now, should be managed in a way that Nigerian economy should derive the benefits that is in that sector because of its linkage with other sectors, like I keep saying, with other sectors of the economy. So my solution, and what I think the president should do, or we need to do as a nation, is to ensure that foreign exchange, management is in line with the demands and supply, not in the administrative manner that is done today.
Thank you so much, Alhaji Yabagisani, and Mr. Dr. Muda Yusuf, the CEO of the Center for the Private Enterprise. Thank you so much for coming tonight on the program. Maybe a lot of Nigerians, as we speak, are watching their television, powering it with a generator, and perhaps not add electricity in a couple of days. We hope that things will get better. And thank you so much for the knowledge of your share tonight. But that's our show for today. Don't forget the breaking news that we're following for you. It's President Muhammad Buhari has met with Governor Buni and has given instruction that he should take over and make sure that the convention of March 26 should happen. A photo has also emerged of President and Governor Memala Buni. That's how we close the program tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Shiwaki Malay. Bye for now.